Hi, I'm Jill from June Taylor with another innovative solution. Did you ever want to join your quilt blocks that are made quilt as you go? Now we have a perfect way to do that with our Sash and a Dash. It's pre-sewn sashing. It's sold by the yard in 7 colors with matching binding. Open the casing and nest your quilt block inside the casing. And then we're just going to run a top stitch down the edge. Take your next block, open the casing, and just do the same thing. To join rows, we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to run our Sash and a Dash across the row. You can run a beautiful embroidery stitch down here to embellish Sash and a Dash, or you can even put a strip of fabric down here. Here's an example where we added a fabric strip by folding under raw edges and top stitching over Sash and a Dash. And if you like to make t-shirt quilts, go ahead and quilt your blocks and then join them with Sash and a Dash.
Ahoy, quilters! The Go Lighthouse die is ready to guide you to your next quilting project. This nautical applique die is on a 6x12 die board, which means it will work with any Go cutter, including the Go Me. It features 9 unique shapes that together will make a 3¼ by 8-inch lighthouse. You'll soon be creating fun coastal projects like table runners and throw quilts with ease. Bring a touch of the sea to kitchen projects like tea towels and oven mitts, or whip up some classic bibs to keep those little ones ship-shape. Free downloadable outline embroidery in your choice of a satin, blanket, or motif stitches provides extra value and gives your project a professional finish. Let your imagination set sail when you combine the Go Lighthouse with the Go Nautical Medley and the Go Sea Life Medley for plenty of beachy fun. You can also cut materials like cardstock, felt, and craft foam to create no-sew projects and crafts with the ease of an ocean breeze. So sit back and relax. The Go Lighthouse is here to lead you to quilting and crafting bliss. Because at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time so you can quilt and craft more. Hi quilters, today's show is all about sewing blocks for this AQS AccuQuilt-Along.
So stay tuned and sew along.
Hi, I'm Pam Heller, AccuQuilt's cutting expert.
I'm Erica Botker, AccuQuilt's creativity expert.
All right, Erica, we're back. So welcome to part two of the Go Carolina In My Mind AQS AccuQuilt-Along. Today, we're going to show you how to sew your center block units. We're going to make some cornerstone units. We're going to make some border units and the North Carolina star block. So take a breath.
Take a breath.
We're going to do it great.
Now this process is going to allow you to do a massive amount of chain piecing and have units that you will need for your additional blocks in this project. Keeping your pieces in order is really the key for this quilt.
We realize that some of you might have questions. So we've asked you to go to the AQS Project Parade Facebook page and post your questions there, because we have so much sewing to do that if we had to stop and ask for questions, it would just be so long. Plus, this show and all of our shows are recorded so you can stop, you can rewind, you can rewatch. Go to our website, our YouTube channel, or our Facebook page to watch that show. And that way, if you miss something, you can just pause or rewind.
Right.
Lots of information.
Any basic questions like where to find the pattern and some of those things, go ahead, post it. Our moderators are there on hand, ready to help you. So quilters, in case you missed it, our first show for this Quilt-Along series was the introduction. It was on a Wednesday, at the end of a Wednesday show
Yes.
with Pam, and we talked about the basics of this block. Now, last week, we got started cutting. We cut the fabric for the block using the Go North Carolina Star die. You can also use traditional rotary cutting directions from the blog on the introduction date, using the Go 5-inch mix and match cube, or again, traditional rotary cutting. And then last week we helped you with some ways to get those pieces organized and some variations. Basically, this can be an awesome way to go ahead and bust out some scraps.
Yes. Now, it's beneficial to watch last week's show before you start today. Make sure you check it out on the AccuQuilt video gallery, Facebook, and YouTube pages. So really important to start back there. It's a summer marathon, not a sprint.
That's right.
All right, so I'm gonna stand up here and you can talk.
Okay, so each of the 12 blocks that we are making for this project use the same center block units. These are units made with shape E from the Go North Carolina Star die. Those are quarter square triangles. And I've got pieces for one here too.
Yep.
You can find the order in which you should sew those units together on page 13 of the pattern.
Right.
Now, I found it helpful to go ahead and pull all those pieces first, lay them out on the mat, and chain piece them accordingly.
All right, so I'm gonna show you, because we have our little,
We have all our
step
little,
outs.
this is our next. This is our target for the North Carolina Star. I'm just gonna put this
Yep,
over here.
this is my
and
block.
you've got one too.
Yep. All right, so here's,
So go ahead and start with going to page 13 on your pattern. And I know we're taking you a little out of order. Don't anybody panic. It's actually gonna make things a little easier for you.
okay. Now, Erica, you wanna show a sample of your center units that go with we're gonna make cornerstones and then
Right.
the center units for those as well.
So these are the center units that we're talking about.
Yes.
These are, I don't have it where you can see it. Wait, let me move it. Okay, here, is this better? There we go.
Yes.
These are those center block units that we're talking about. And then there is that solid square. And again, these are all shapes from the North Carolina Star block on board die. These
Right.
are cornerstones, we're not getting there yet.
Right.
So when you go to the top of the page, it's gonna show you how to lay these out. Now, we talked about the fact that our big substitution, we're pretty much following the colors.
We are.
In the pattern, but our big substitution was this fabric here. You're gonna see this as almost a gray color in your printed pattern, and it's gonna refer to it as an Essex linen rainbow sparkle. We didn't find that fabric, but we found this great kind of chartreuse tulip pink for Free Spirit Fabrics that kind of includes all the different colors in our quilt. So we thought that would be a really fun one to use. So you'll see that in each of the units, that gets laid to the top. A white goes to the bottom, and then you'll find the order for the different colors. So this one's got the magenta and where's my red? Red. And then I'm gonna have one that's gonna be, again, these two, and then the next one's gonna have orange and yellow.
Right.
And we're gonna build all 4 of those together and chain piece those, and we can just go over how to sew maybe one of them
Yes, let's just do that.
together.
Yep, because then we can talk about, while you're sewing that, I can talk about how to create the tops, those spiky blocks.
So the key here is that these are quarter squares. Remember that long side is gonna go to the outside of your block. I'm gonna go ahead and sew together 2 and 2 and get those
Yep.
put together.
So while Erica's sewing those together, we have lots of sewing today. All right, Kenyon, am I good? Okay, so this is this spiky unit here, and this is shape D, and these are shape C. Remember, we laid them on the die board, so we did a left and a right, okay? Now, it's crucial to make sure you lay out your pieces so that you can sew them together correctly, all right? So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna put these back in here real quick so I don't lose my pieces. And I'm gonna start by sewing a left, and look how it's gonna lay right here on top. I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam, I'm gonna press my seam open, and then I'm gonna sew a right. And then Erica is doing the bottom section right here, and she'll talk about pressing for that.
Okay,
So we're just doing great. And
we're
again,
just-
don't forget, if you have questions right now, simple questions like, where can I find the pattern? What dye are we using? We have moderators answering those questions right now. All right, and Erica, have you not just so enjoyed the chain piecing?
I have.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's a great summer project. You know, if you do a book club, sometimes in the summer they'll have one of two things. They'll either have something really light and fluffy that you're reading.
Right.
You know, if you usually read something kind of heavy and intellectual, you'll kind of have a beach read over the summer. But sometimes it'll also be something longer than you usually read, just because you've got some time to relax and
Yes.
make your way through it. And that's kind of what I feel like we've got going on with this project. We're still just a little bit longer project.
We're just a little bit longer. Okay, so now I've done the right side, and I've pressed my seam open. So now when I add the left side, it's gonna line up right here perfectly. And when I sew my 1/4 inch seam, there'll be just a 1/4 inch seam there at the top. And these, again, Erica, when I was sewing these for my blocks, I just did them all at one time.
Yep. And doing these, you know, last week when we cut our blocks out, I talked about building kits. And this is something that's going to go into your kits. Now, we also talked about pressing your seams open. I actually, for these units, press them towards my rainbow colored ones.
Right.
My different colored ones, because then I can put these together and that's gonna nest. That seam's gonna nest and give me that perfect center point. I'm gonna go ahead and get that sewn together for you so you can see it.
And I love the fact that we have these little Liso irons that we can just sit here next to us and press things open as we're
You know, if I had to give you a pro tip, I would say you really want a little iron and a little pressing board. You've got a wool mat. I've got a cut and press by June Taylor. Now, because I went the opposite direction, I can open this up, turn it over, open that little seam up, and it's going to press nice and flat.
Look at how great that is. Okay.
And then this is going to go on these are going to go on the bottoms
Right.
of those spiky units. You know, this is when you first look at this project, Pam, I think you think that it's all very random, but it's not.
No.
It's very deliberately
Yes.
planned out.
Yes.
And you're going to see that in every instance, what we're using as our Tula Pink is going to be towards the fat end of our spike.
Right.
And in every instance, these pieces are going to be in the same order
Right.
around that solid
You're
center.
always going to have fuchsia and red together. You're always going to have turquoise and lime green, always together, which is one of the great things about that. All right, Miss Erica, so while you're finishing that up, doing the little centers, because that's so crucial.
Right.
Just make all your centers first.
Make all your centers first. You're just going to, and then, you know, what we're doing basically is not only are we making these centers, but by doing it this way, you are learning how to put together the units that are going to make up our North Carolina star blocks. And one of the questions that we get asked the most when we are out teaching, I think, Pam, is how do I use block how do I use block on board dies together with my cubes?
Right.
And this is such a great example of
Right.
that we just couldn't resist using it for our
because
quilt
these
along.
corner sections finish to 5 inches, and to that there is a 5-inch cube. So those blue sections right there, yep, I'll show you here. These sections here, okay, those are all 5 inches. So people are going to ask, can I use a different size cube? And the answer is no. You need it to finish to 5 inches, because then it works. Right, the math works. Because the North Carolina Star is a 10-inch finished block.
That's right. Okay, I am almost done with these.
Okay.
Do you have your spikes all done?
I do have my spikes all done. And when you finish that, we're going to talk about
Those cornerstone
the
units,
cornerstones
right?
and then the side spiky units on the side of those.
Okay.
Because we have spikes for the center of each block and we have spikes on the side. Okay. So while Erica is just sewing her last
I'm
little,
just sewing my last
little
two
square,
seams here.
let's talk about cornerstones. All right, so I'm going to get up and we're going to do this.
We're going to do this
We're going to do
quilters.
this. All right, so quilters, is this one better, Kenyon, or this one? Okay. All right. So quilters, there are 4 cornerstone sections in this quilt, in each of the 4 corners along the border. We also have cornerstones in the center. We're going to talk about those later. But today we're going to talk about these 4 units. Now this, you're going to notice, is from the North Carolina Star. You're also going to notice that these sides, what do you call those, Erica, in the blog?
I call them border end units. And the reason I do that is because that's how we're going to assemble that unit, is by sewing those to the ends of the borders before we sew the cornerstones on.
There we go. Okay. So just like, it's okay, we're going to let it fall.
It's okay.
Just like we made the spikes for the center, okay, here, this is that same block, but you're going to notice a difference. These have just white, and this has white and sparkly, okay? So be sure and read the pattern when we're talking about these, okay? So we're going to show you how we're going to sew one of our cornerstone units together, because how you sew them together is important, right, Erica?
It is important.
Okay.
So, and you've got teams. So each corner is going to have a purple spike unit and the pumpkin. I think it's pumpkin.
Yes, it's blue. Pumpkin and
ultraviolet.
Yes, pumpkin and ultraviolet.
So again, more of those quarter square triangle units. And again, pay attention to how you're laying them out, because each of them has a green. That's going to make a secondary element for you. So you
Yes.
want to make sure that you get those colors laid out correctly.
Right.
And then the other one is going to be turquoise.
And again, we kept all of our pieces, really good track of all of our pieces, so we knew what was pumpkin and what was lime green,
Right.
okay? So when we put it together, this is how it looks. Because here's that wide 5-inch border, here's that wide 5-inch border, but Erica, what's right here? This is the beginning of the striped border,
Right.
right there.
So it's all going to work together. You just got to
We
trust
promise.
the system here.
We promise. All right, so you sewing some of
So
your
I was
side
sewing
units?
some of these, but we can, what are you sewing?
So I'm going to sew this because we want to talk about this. How we sew this
Okay.
together is
well,
important.
I will jump ahead then.
Okay, jump ahead.
Is everybody good with quarter squares and the spikes?
Yep. and watch it, because you're going to go,
Right.
oh, I
And-
only need 8 of those that have just the white center.
And you know, I think it's worthwhile watching to the end, because
Yes.
the deeper we get into this pattern, the more sense it's going to make in
Right.
your quilting head.
Right.
I know that sounds funny,
Right.
but as somebody who's been known to not always read patterns carefully, we did start by telling everybody to read the pattern. But I think as you sew it together and your sewing muscles kick in, it makes sense in your head.
It does. All right, quilters, so while Erica is sewing her spikes, I'm going to start sewing the cornerstone sections together. Remember, we only need 4 of them. How you sew them together is important. Otherwise, they will not fit. So what you're going to do is you're going to start and you're going to sew these shape bees together, and they're going to line up perfectly, just like this. And we're going to press our seams open. And again, normally you would just chain piece these because it's going to go so much faster, right, Erica?
Oh, yes.
We talked about, you know, thinking you needed to just do 1 block at a time. Listen, it will take you forever.
Yeah, really going to sew those similar units together is going to be a big time saver for you.
It's key. And after a while, you'll kind of know your colors, which gives me hope.
Helpful too, right?
Right. So the reason we're going to sew these together is so that when we press them open and add the sides, then it will match the size of our big half square triangle. There is a method to the madness.
So if you have not sewn these pieces together before, you can go to the pattern, the product page for the North Carolina. I did that, I sewed those together. There we go.
There you go. The North Carolina Star.
North Carolina Star, and you can download free block assembly directions, and I would recommend doing that unless you have your packaging still for your die. No matter how you cut it, you're going to want those block assembly directions, because it really does make a difference how you put it together.
Right.
And if you sew the next pieces on incorrectly, then it doesn't work either. So
Right.
you
Now-
really want to keep track as you go.
And in your quilting head, you're going to think, Pam, that is wrong, but that really isn't. Trust me, because we want to make a square. Okay? And look how it's going to line up perfectly there with the bottom. Erica, I love that this is such a great scrap buster.
It is. You really
I
could
mean-
make a big dent. You've got a rainbow worth of scraps. This is the project for you.
And like we talked about before, maybe you have a lot of purple scraps.
Right.
You could just make it
You
purple.
can totally change things up as you want to work with what you've got available, or you can do what we did and go through and get fat quarters, or you might have, I don't know, you might have a few fat quarters sitting around, quilters.
Well, I was thinking earlier today
You know,
about
some of those yummy fat quarter bundles that you pick up because they're so pretty and you don't know quite what you're going to do with them? Do this.
And this would be a great team project. Like you and I are making for the very first time ever the same exact colors in all of our quilt-alongs.
This never ever happens
Never.
with anything that we do.
Yeah, but we went and bought yardage, half-yard cuts, and we were very specific about using the same line.
Right.
Because then it's going to all work together.
Just gave it a little bit of continuity. You know, this is a very scrappy look, and that does not always, scrappy is, I guess for lack of a better way, it's a learned skill, isn't it?
It is.
And not everybody is comfortable with scrappy. So I would say that this is how you write a pattern. Laura Strickland is a genius.
She is.
And she wrote this pattern as patterned scrappy.
Right.
And that is not an easy thing to pattern for quilters.
Well, right, you just think it's random. It is not. This is very organized scraps.
So now we've got our wide end and our small end. We're going to go ahead and sew these pieces on.
Yep.
They're going to fit, and look how our dog-eared corners are going to line up just perfectly. Look at that. Isn't that awesome?
See? And it's going to make a square, which is what we want.
Right. And we're thinking of it as units. You're going to hear us talking about units. You're going to see us talk about units in the blog.
Right, because the unit is part of the block.
Right.
Units sewn together make the block. I want you to know, Erica, I have not used a single pin.
I haven't either.
I think it's just because the pieces are cut so great with the die.
Cut so well with the die, and those dog-eared corners line up so perfectly on these pieces. Well, on all of them, really.
But I love the fact that we can just sew.
And then I press these to the outside
Yes, I did as well.
of the unit.
Okay.
So I'm going to press these to the outside. Again, I kind of listen to my fabric. I kind of look at the design and
the
where we're
bulk.
going and the bulk, and try to press so that the
Just about.
bulk is going to be the most evenly distributed and lay the best when I'm done.
My little iron turtle here almost fell in my lap
Oh,
here.
no.
I know.
That is an earlier model, and it does not stand up.
Oh, it's okay. It can live on its turtle. It was funny because originally when I first started sewing some blocks together, I just had my big iron out and I kept getting up and down and up and down. And I thought, oh, wait, there is a solution for that.
Oh, I always have a little iron.
I usually
always
do.
have my
I
little
think I just
Oliso
had
next
so
to me.
many pieces that I thought, oh, wait,
Just got a little overwhelmed.
I did.
This has been, I have to tell you, this has been a great go down. Pam and I usually both sew in our basements where it tends to be cooler.
Yes,
And it has
Currently a
been
little
a
warm.
little bit warm in the Heartland.
it has. And then pouring down rain and flooding, and now we're finally better.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so again, you're gonna follow the pattern, pull all the pieces for all of your cornerstones together, and then again, follow the pattern and the assembly instructions on how to create those blocks,
Okay.
okay?
So I'm just pressing here, but I can stop because I think I'm sensing it's time for us to move on.
I
and
believe
so
it
a
is.
North Carolina star block. What do you think,
I believe
Coulters?
so, I believe so. All right, so I'm gonna put these back where they belong so I know what I'm doing.
It's a goal, Quilters, it's a goal.
I just bought 100 zippy bags because, holy smokes, we just needed to have them all there.
You know, there's all kinds of, this time of year with all the back to school things in the stores is a
yes.
great time to go to maybe a dollar kind of store or
Yeah.
some kind of a whatever store you want to, and invest in some things that you like to help you organize, whether it's big box of zippy
yeah.
bags or little plastic
Bins.
bins or plastic boxes. There's all those kinds of things in the stores right now, and it's a great time to stock up for your quilting needs.
All right, Miss Jill, will you give us, yep, there we go. Now, quilters, don't forget, this show and all of our live events are being recorded, so you can go back and watch the sections that we've already covered, all right? And Erica's correct, it is time to move on, all right?
Okay.
And we have talked about our cornerstones and our border units that are gonna work with our 5-inch wide border. And then we've talked about how the center is gonna be that striped border.
Yes.
So now it is time to move on to the North Carolina star die. All right?
All right, so
going
this
there.
is our block. So this is our target here.
Yeah,
And Pam's
so-
got one, I've got one.
And
it's great
the-
to have it to use as a reference. She's gonna take a look at, show you the one on the wall.
In the quilt, there are 4 North Carolina star blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the only block that there are 4 of. There are the same blocks. So here's a block, and here's its partner. 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 Now, I have sewn some of our blocks because we need to have some of them sewn for you so you can see what they look like. And I actually laid them out on my design wall, and my son was home this weekend, and he's an artist, and he said, I'm not really sure I like this flow. So whatever you want to do, quilters, if you don't like this particular layout, knock yourself out. Remember, we talked about maybe you want to just make scrappy North Carolina star blocks, you could. So however you want to personalize it, you can. So these North Carolina stars have the same corners. Remember, every block has the same center. And we just sewed together one of those corners of the North Carolina star. So let's lay it out again so that you can see our blocks, and then we're actually gonna sew one together for you. Remember, you can go to the AccuQuilt website, to the North Carolina Star Die product page, and there are instructions on how to put it together.
There are.
Okay? All right, so Erica's laying out her pieces.
So I've got my block partially done. I need a couple spikes. I need to put this center piece together so that I'll be ready to sew my whole unit together.
Yes.
So Pam is gonna
So I'm gonna
get
actually
started on her North Carolina block, or did you do are you doing your center pieces like I am?
I'm gonna sew my North Carolina star block together, and then I think, Erica, I'm gonna sew together the center section, that sashing, so
Okay.
that everyone can see kind of how that works.
That's what I was working on right now.
Yes. And again, how it sews together is the seam. So,
Yeah, that's the nice thing. We've already sewn together all of these units once already today.
right. And I'm gonna add my little spikies to my centers. And remember that Tula Pink is the sparkle in ours,
Right.
the sparkle linen. Though I think Tula Pink would be happy to know that we were calling her fabric some sparkle linen.
Yeah,
It's kind of fun.
got a couple of spikes here. Well, it was a fun fabric, and I think it's called fairy dust.
Sure.
And it has kind of all little shapes that I kind of I think of when I think of Tula
Yes.
and her prints. But it ended up being perfect for this project because the colors just matched all of our brights so
Right.
well.
And in the blog, Erica, because I'm sure people are asking what colors we're using and or what
Yes.
fabric line
Oh
to
gosh, we use two. We use solids and a blender line, and off the top of my head, I don't remember.
do. Off the top of your little bean head. It's okay.
I
We'll figure it
don't.
out. We'll figure it out.
But again, scrappy works or blenders. You know, blenders are, so if blenders is a new term for you, this is what we're talking
I actually just
about.
learned about this.
So blenders are those prints that are not solids, but they're kind of going to read as solids in your quilt.
They
So
might have a little tone on
if
tone.
you look here at these fabrics right here, this green, these two colors, these are what I'm calling a blender. It's kind of a tone-on-tone print. It's got movement to it. It definitely is a print and not a solid, but from a distance, it's gonna pretty much read as a solid. And that's what we're gonna call a blender because it's gonna blend in with your quilt. And when I'm picking fabric for a project, I will usually start with a fabric that I love as my focus fabric. Then, once I've got that, then I'm gonna go to smaller prints to go with that or different prints to go with that, and then I'm gonna go with my blenders. And I really am a big fan of blenders over just always using solids.
I like that idea, and I like the fact that, you know, this one is perfect because it has those tiny little prints, but maybe for the border, which is 5 inches wide, you want to use a bigger print.
Right.
You know, maybe you have some really great floral or something really bright where there's lots of movement. That would be perfect as well.
And I know that Laura, when she made the sample that we have here on the wall, she picked a print that doesn't exist anywhere else in her quilt for that binding, but it pulls all those colors together.
It does.
I love that.
All right, so quilters, I'm just laying out my pieces here. And we're just doing chain piecing. We're just creating those corner sections, and we're doing, there we go. Had to figure out how I was doing that right. It does help to lay out your pieces as you're sewing them.
It really does. It really does. We kind of joke about that, but it really does help.
Well, and I don't know about you, but there were a couple that I sewed incorrectly.
I also was known to sew a couple incorrectly. So, and you know what? Probably what I sewed would not have been noticed by anybody else except for you, Pam Heller, and maybe our quilters.
Yeah.
But anybody else looking at that quilt, because this is a scrappy kind of look, most people are not going to get really down in the trenches.
Down in the weeds with it,
Down in the weeds with the color placement
Right,
and all.
right.
So you do what makes you happy with it. And if you get to the point where you don't want to sew on it anymore and you don't want to change a color, don't.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, if you've mistaken lime green for Kelly green, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Cut some more. But I still, even as I was sewing my blocks together, I was paying attention to where I had taped my fabric samples into my pattern.
Every time.
I can't tell you enough how important that was, quilters.
Yes, because I was forever trying to find the difference between purple and ultraviolet. I think those are the two colors
Yes.
that I was trying to think, wait, how does this go?
Wait.
Okay, so look, I've sewn my shape Bs together, and now I can add, don't forget.
Don't forget.
There's a left and a right.
Yes, and we're going to do that next. I'm kind
And
of
here's kind
chain
of the-
piecing, so I'm doing other pieces
Yes.
in between.
So this is kind of a way you can remember it, okay? This notch right here, this dog ear right here matches this dog ear. This side doesn't have a dog ear.
Oh, that's clever.
So
I
you
was
wanna put
just
the
thinking
dog ears together.
wide end to wide end.
Oh, that works too. Yeah, I just look for the dog ear. Because sometimes it's backward, you know, you're trying to sew
Right.
the dog-eared side to the side
Right.
and it doesn't work.
But you're going to sew wide end to wide end also.
Yep.
That'll work however it works for you, quilters.
And if you just have some general questions about what size cube we're using or which die we're using or when did the Quilt-Along start, we do have our team answering those questions right now.
Right.
Thanks to our team who are moderating questions. We appreciate you.
Okay.
They do it with absolutely no fanfare. I appreciate that about them.
Yes. Yes.
They're just always there, consistent, doing
Lauren
that.
and Caitlin and everybody, we really appreciate your help on that. Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to keep chain piecing,
Yes. Look
I'm
at
going to
you.
go ahead and start sewing this middle piece, my solid piece, into my
There you go.
project.
There you go. So again, those centers are the exact same in every block. All right.
Isn't that fun? Yeah.
I found that fascinating.
So if you're somebody who is not really a scrappy person by nature, this is a great way to kind of dip your toe in the water.
Yes.
And you don't have to be a scrappy person. Our own Lynn Gibney is not by nature a scrappy
No.
person. And
is-
I did not used to be a scrappy person either. But then I started coming up with all these scraps and I had to do something with them.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm putting my ends on my B, so I'm putting my C's onto the ends of my 3B units.
There we go. Okay.
And then it's going to be ready for me to put those triangles on, and we can assemble our blocks. Are you about ready to put
I
your
am
block
about
together
ready.
too?
And again, we're pressing seams open here when it comes to these little spiky blocks. I just found that there's just so much bulk otherwise. When we were doing the quarter squares, I pressed to the colored side.
I
but
did too.
For the spiky stars. Did you have a favorite color of all the colors we chose, Erica?
You know, I really loved this combination
The
with the
teal.
teals, but I really love the one that I'm working on here now.
Yes.
And I really love the Tula Pink print that we selected to use in place of the Essex Rainbow Sparkle linen, just because it has all the different colors in it.
And remember, we walked around the quilt shop for quite some time with it in our hands.
Quite some time with it.
And finally said, listen, we can do what we want. It's
Right.
yours. You can make it your
Right.
own way.
And so we did.
So we did. Fabric is not the boss of us. Well, kind of it is.
Well, kind of it is. But, you know,
For today, it wasn't.
the patterns are for you to make them your own, right?
Right.
That's how it is in my quilting head.
All right.
Sometimes we see something that somebody's made and it's so perfect you want to make it just like that. Sometimes you see it and you think, yeah, but.
Right.
That was our yeah, but moment.
Yep. So we're just laying out our block. We're going to attach these two centers with just one of our spikes, and it matters which color you use.
It does. It does.
In your quilting head, you won't think it does, but it does.
It does.
We promise. And Erica, I know you and I have kind of talked about what a joy it is to just kind of do some chain piecing.
It is. It is. So really, by doing this, this is a great quilt-along project, because what we're going to do for you as we go along with this is we're just breaking it down into pieces and making it a complicated looking project be not so complicated.
Yep.
So I've got my big triangles. I'm going to press these out to the sides, and then I'm going to be ready to sew these to either side of this. I can sew this middle in between my units, and I'll have my block all done.
There you go. I have don't have my shape F for the center. So
Oh.
I'm going to sew my two sides, and we just really want you to get used to seeing how this looks.
Right, and once you've got that, putting these units together, kind of got a feel for them.
Yeah.
Again, this is going to help us next week as we go into making our mix and match blocks, because these four corners of those blocks are going to be different,
Right.
but they're all going to end up going together just the same way as our North Carolina star, which I think is kind of genius.
I just think it's fabulous. Just
Yeah,
saying.
it really is.
Just saying. Laura Strickland was so fun. We reached out to her and said, hey, we need your help so we can create those charts. And she had them already done, which
She
was
did. She was fabulous.
really nice. And if you haven't downloaded, they're with the pattern, right? The cutting charts, if you haven't cut your fabric yet.
Those color charts and cutting charts are going to be with your pattern. Now, what I did in putting these together
Yeah.
for ease is I pressed towards this center square, because that was going to be
Yes.
the least bulk. So then I am pressing these units towards the outside, because then
Oh.
I'm going to be able to nest those little Dickenses together.
Okay.
And that's going to make me happy.
It will make you happy. All right, so I have this bottom section here, so I just need my other side, and here's my top section. Okay, so I can just add this to this side. And I found it was easiest, Erica, to kind of have the spiky block on top.
Okay.
Oh, we got to talk about something.
What do we have to talk about?
How in your quilting head, see how this matches here?
Yes.
You want to make sure it matches these seams. So I found that if I had the spiky block on top, I could make sure that it matched the seam from the North Carolina Star block.
Okay.
So I'm all
Oh,
about
dear.
matching the seams.
My thread broke. I just sewed a seam that didn't sew.
Oh.
I do hate it when that happens.
Dang.
All right, technical difficulty.
And I do
Wonder what I
back
did.
stitch as I'm sewing.
You know, I am on the, especially when you know it's going to be on the outside of a block.
Yes.
That is a time to back chain, because nothing drives me crazy more than going to put my blocks together and they're coming unsewn.
Right.
Is that not the case with you?
Yes.
so
as
much.
I'm sewing these units together, these corner units, I am back stitching with the spiky stars. All right, and quilters, don't forget to join the AQS Project Parade Facebook page, and you can post your questions from today's show there. Eric and I will be looking at those. We had so much to sew that we just felt like it would be difficult to answer questions that are intense questions. But if you have general questions like, 2.5 is my stitch length.
Somebody always asks that, don't they?
That, yeah. And all right, so look how our block is coming together. I do like this purple color.
I do too.
Okay, and I'm going to pin these together because I don't have my
Oh,
shape
she
F.
doesn't have her shape F to put it together.
So
I
I'm
do.
going to
I'm
pin.
going to. Boy, I've got
You
threads
go
all the
do-
ways.
all of your things.
I'm going to press this last piece, and then we're going to see how this block goes together.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to clippy this. There's a technical term for these. They're called bindy clips. No, they're Wonder Clips or something. They're on our website.
They are Wonder Clips, and we do sell them on our website. Okay.
Allows you
so
to keep your pieces
this
all
one
together.
goes here. So you can see we've got, these are the 3 sections now that need to be sewn together. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to be able to nest these seams, and that's going to help me put those together.
Okay, you do that, and I'm going
I
to do
am.
my last little seam right here. All right.
And even if you don't have questions, we hope you'll post pictures of your
Oh.
fabric and your blocks and your progress.
Okay, so here's the question, because we've started to see your pictures from last week. Do you think most people are going to kind of follow the pattern, or do you think they're going to do kind of their own scrappy look?
You know, our quilters are a pretty original group, so I can hardly wait to see what all they come up with. Because
I hope
usually,
somebody's doing like a Christmas version, or, you know, in reds and greens, or a Halloween version, or spring, right?
this is very summery look to me.
Yeah.
This is perfect for this time of year. And again, when I know it's on the outside of my block, I am back stitching just to make
Yes.
sure everything stays together. We've worked so hard on it. Okay, there's that side. I'm gonna now be able to sew this side on.
Okay.
And even though these aren't even rows, they're still rows, and they're
Yes.
still going together just like if it was an even 9 patch.
Do you want to put your lid down on your sewing machine there? There we go.
I had to fix my thread.
I know. All right, well, Erica sews her last row for our North Carolina Star block. You want to check out the AccuQuilt blog, because the lovely Erica has a post every Wednesday during the Quilt-Along over the details of the day's events. So we're trying to make sure that what we show on the show is what's in the blog, okay? And AQS is also updating their original blog post, so you can check that out as well.
That's right.
I think that's really fun. And we're certainly happy to be partnering with our friends at AQS.
We are. We're all having a great time with this project.
Speaking of AQS, if you're going to AQS Grand Rapids here in a couple of weeks, I will be there. I will be hosting the
I
lounge.
was going to say, you will be there,
I will
won't
be
you?
there. Yeah, I don't think I've been to, well, I went to AQS Daytona. But yes, I'll be in the lounge in Grand Rapids. Come say hi to me.
Okay, here we
It'll be
go.
fun.
I've
All right,
got my
Erica, show 'em.
block done. I've got my block done.
Ta-da!
So there you can see how it looks next to the one that we had done.
Yep.
So there are, again, 4 different North Carolina Star blocks in this project, and they're in 4 different colorways. These 4 units in the center are going to be exactly the same in each one of your blocks. These are going to be different colors, and your little spikes are going to be different colors.
And the order you sew them together is the same.
That's right.
So notice the same there. So at the top, Erica has her 2 purples. To the left is her red and pink, and then orange and yellow, and green and turquoise.
All right.
All right, Erica, before we end this part of our Quilt-Along, do you want to announce the winner of today's giveaway?
I would love to. The lucky winner of $100 in AccuQuilt reward points is, drum roll please, it's Myrtle D of Grand Prairie, Texas. Congratulations.
Miss Myrtle, I have already put those $100 reward points on your account associated with your email address.
Fantastic.
All right, don't forget we have plenty of special offers available for you on our website. And speaking of our website, Erica, do you know what the die to try for the month of August is?
It is the Go Lighthouse, and it has been so requested. I think I had people starting to request a lighthouse the minute I walked through the door of AccuQuilt over 11 years ago.
Yes. Perfect for coastal projects or just fun beach projects here.
All kinds of fun projects.
Yep.
We are totally landlocked. We don't care. We love lighthouses here anyway.
We do.
All right, to get an order in right now, open a new tab in your browser, type in AccuQuilt.com/party. You'll see all our current deals. You can place an order right there. Don't forget about that lighthouse die. You can only buy it from us or your local AccuQuilt retailer. And don't forget again to post those pictures of your fabrics, of your blocks, of your progress, and any questions you've got too on that AQS Quilting Project Parade Facebook group. Pam and I, we're going to be adding our blocks as we go, and we're going to answer any questions you might have along the way.
All right, so now we've cut and stored. We've sewn our quarter stones. We've sewn our North Carolina star blocks. Next, we're going to continue with this project, and we're going to sew the rest of the blocks. So it is time for us to get ready to do that. So we hope that today's show is just what you needed to get you inspired to start sewing blocks for the Go Carolina In My Mind quilt.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for watching. To learn more about your quilting craft, be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for live events every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can check out the events page on the AccuQuilt website for more details on upcoming shows. And if you're looking for even more inspiration, visit our blog for exclusive tutorials filled with tips and tricks. And remember, at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time so you can quilt more. Be sure to join me every Wednesday at 12 noon Central Time for AccuQuilt Live. Next week, we're sewing more blocks for this AQS AccuQuilt-Along. Hope to see you there.